think my thoughts heading into Saturday is that we still got a long way to go. I still continue to see so many areas that we need to improve on. And most of what we need to improve on, I think we can improve on. So it's a combination of being discouraged and encouraged at the same time, if that makes sense. Now, Xavier will expose some things that we can't control in some ways, in the sense that they will have two legitimate post presences in the game at the same time at 4 and 5. We'll do a good job schematically on what we need to try to do to defend them, and yet at the same time, just based on the size and our struggles to keep teams like Winthrop or Coastal Carolina off the boards, have a challenge with our rebounding and our interior defense. And then what they do is they take advantage of the fact that you've got to guard them a certain way on the inside, and then they knock it out to shooters. And that's how they're shooting the ball so well, so efficiently, because it's an inside out offense, because they've got some really strong inside presence. This is the best basketball team we've played, and without being at all critical of any of our opponents and more complimentary to Xavier, it's by a pretty good margin. I think Xavier will compete for the Big East Championship. They've got great depth. They've got great size. They're very well coached by Chris Mack. They're experienced. They've been in the tournament. I think it's 8 out of the last 10 years. And there's even a 20-year stat that's almost as impressive. So it's going to take our best effort. And, my big focus has been, let's just keep getting better. This team is going to expose us more and going to force us to, challenge us. And I find myself getting ready for our final practice before Xavier, almost more concerned about focusing on us than them.
Bruce, talk about getting the ball up court quickly. It looked like you guys did a better job of that last game.
If, part of it was the field goal percentage defense, and part of it was Winthrop not making shots. And, while we got hurt on the boards, we did have a lot of opportunities to rebound the basketball. When you do play pretty good defensively, and there are misses, there are a lot of rebounding opportunities. So in the second half, we got a few of those rebounding opportunities. Fatigue was a little bit of a factor. We were able to advance pass. And let's face it, with KT, Taj, and Antoine down the floor, and, Simeon or Jordan, or hopefully Trayvon, we've got some guys that can rim run. It was nice to see some easy baskets and some transition offense, because all those guys can finish in transition, but it starts on the defensive end. It starts with rebounding the basketball, and I agree that's an area that we made some progress in, but it's an area we should be really good. My best teams are teams that do that all the time.
You said there's a couple of areas you can't control with Xavier. They're gonna
Yeah.
Can you wear them out?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
It's not, because of their depth. It's not, and but I think that, for example, looking at Alabama Xavier, okay, Alabama scored. I mean, they offensively played really well, but there was so many possessions in that basketball game that when you give a team like Xavier that many opportunities to put their hands on the ball, they're going to take advantage of it. And so I'd say in defense of Alabama, that's the best I've seen Xavier play. I've watched almost every game they've played, and that's the best that they've played. So, we've got to play hard, we've got to play smart, and we just can't, as far as not controlling things, we can't let their size overwhelm us. Bigger at 5, bigger at 4, bigger at 3. And that's got to be something we got to be able to physically address.
They've got a lot of freshmen. The leading scorer is one of the freshmen.
Blewitt.
What have you seen from that group in particular? Because they're relying on a lot of freshmen
Yeah.
on this team right now.
Yeah, great. Had a great class to join in with a group of really good returning veterans. Blewitt's he's probably the best pro on that team. He'll be an NBA player. 6'7", 3-man that can really shoot the ball from the perimeter. It was a great get for Xavier. He could have gone anywhere he wanted to go. And military kid, great background. He'll be matched up with KT Harrell. Now, one of the things about KT, number 10 in the last game, I'll tell you how quickly I shift gears. I can't even remember what his name was, but I remember what his number was for Winthrop. He's a really good player. He was their leading scorer. KT did a really good job defensively. And so that'll be, he did the same thing against Grantham for Clemson. KT did a really good job defensively. So, one of the things about like KT, it would sure be a lot more fun if we were winning. But I look at KT as a senior. He wants to win so badly, and he's tired of losing. It wears on you. And you can see sometimes he gets discouraged. But he is a better basketball player. He is a more complete basketball player. When I'm now in a position where I'm saying, all right, KT, I want you on their best offensive player, I don't know that's happened in his career because he's physically gotten stronger, quicker, leaner, taken more pride. It requires great energy. At the same time, we rely on him so much on the offensive end, and yet he's delivered with pretty darn good consistency. So regardless of where we are, KT's getting better. He's helping build that foundation. So the matchup with Blewett is going to be a really interesting one to watch.
This is only their second true road game, and early on in the Wooden Classic, they really struggled. And I know it's neutral site, but nevertheless, they're playing some California teams out there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just things that you've seen. Most teams are different home and away, but there are things you've seen, particularly from that California trip from them, that were just things that you could possibly exploit.
Yeah, they've really been great at home. I mean, they've shot it really well. Chris Mack is good home on the road, but his record at home is really good at what was the Cintas Center. I'm not sure what it is now, but yeah, you could this be a team that's not as good on the road as it is at home? We don't know yet because this is only going to be their second road game. The games that they played earlier in the year, back in late November, yeah, they weren't as good as they are. Right now they're playing better than they were about a month ago, as you would expect. So you hope that the environment at home inspires us and bothers them. And again, we've been talking about this as this is the featured non-conference game on the schedule. This was the one, and to be able to get Xavier to come here first. Normally you want to we're always having to go someplace else, but for Xavier to come in was great. And now the question is, can we take advantage of it?
How important is the crowd in a game like this?
The crowd will be really important, and it needs to arrive early, and without the students, it's going to be, you see those billboards all over, this part of the state. Let's do this together. This is definitely one of them. To support Auburn, to give us a chance to win. The other thing that I've talked about is from a standpoint of appreciating good basketball, and I know sometimes it's hard to look at a matchup like that. People that own their season tickets, they're going to see a really, really, really good team in Xavier with all the components, and a team that's going to challenge for the Big East Championship, have a chance to advance to the NCAA tournament, and they're going to be on our home floor. So I want them there to support us and help us win the basketball game, but I also want them there because it's hard to get teams like Xavier. It's like, when Kentucky comes in or when Florida comes in or, this year Arkansas will come in nationally ranked or things like that. Our fans they're there to support us, but they also want to see what do those guys look like. This is, I think, one of those opponents.
You talked about KT binding that defense. As a coach, how much does that help you when your scorer is a guy that also is your best defender? Does it, especially for the young guys, does it help them to see that?
Well, he's not our best defender, but he's one of our most improved defenders. And he's focused on defending, and so it definitely helps set the tone, and it makes the other guys accountable. And again, if you look at the 3-point shooting percentages of our last 4 or 5 opponents, that's going to be really challenged. I think in the last 5 or 6 games we're holding teams to 60 points in that neighborhood. That's going to be extremely challenged. So as I've given and talked about Chuck Person being our defensive coordinator and the job that he's done, and the players with the job that they've done, it's still an area I know we can improve on. But it's going to be really challenged tomorrow.
For Trayvon, whose minutes obviously go up in the last game, his production goes up, especially because of their size. Do you see a possibility of not only playing him more, but possibly playing him with Simeon, see what that starts to look like
Yeah.
with their size in particular?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And here's the issue that right now Trayvon probably knows about 30% about what we do at the 5 position. Simeon probably knows about 75% of what we do at the 5 position. That's the only position he plays. I say that in jest. So therefore, to then teach Simeon some 4 right now would be somewhat of a challenge at this particular moment, especially with Jordan Granger and now Alex Thompson at the 4 position. To get our best players on the floor, is that possible? Can that happen this year? Sure, it can happen this year. When Trayvon begins to warrant more minutes, if Trayvon and Simeon both warrant more minutes, that's definitely a possibility. With all that we have got to learn and know, and actually this would be an opponent. I just don't know that from a learning curve, we're ready.
When you, I guess late in the game, when you started running more things with Trayvon out there, what did you notice? What did you learn?
What I learned is that he's got some good instincts. He's got some good feel because he is long. He's been taught well enough to kind of see the ball and he knows where he's supposed to be on the floor defensively, generally speaking. Now for us, it's a little different because of some of our defensive schemes. But that's a really good thing. So he'll put himself in those positions. I think he's willing to compete. It's hard to be a tough guy when everybody's so much stronger than you are. You know, there aren't many tough guys out there that aren't the stronger guy in a matchup. And so the fact that he's competing and not afraid is very encouraging. I think the other thing too, he's been a good teammate so far in the sense that he's really been likable, really been coachable. His teammates have embraced him in a very short period of time. And you know, there's just something about when he's on the floor. He gives us a little bit of a defensive presence. And when I see the fact that he's from Mobile, Alabama, it brightens me up a little bit. The fact that Auburn has got a young man from Mobile, Alabama, who's a really good prospect and got a chance to be a good player. There was a time that, one of the better prospects in the state may not have come to Auburn. He might have gone elsewhere. In fact, Trayvon was going elsewhere. For different circumstances, obviously, he winds himself having to get re-recruited and immediately wants to come here. He wanted to come here because he kind of grew up an Auburn fan. He grew up close enough. Our basketball program just wasn't where he thought it needed to be. So it's good to have him. And if he can stay consistent with his training and his preparation, he'll be good. It's been his challenge throughout his career is that he's never been able to consistently train, and that's what I challenge him with every day.